I never thought when I was growing up on the farm, taking straw from the field,
Yeah.
that one day we'd be building a house with it.
Welcome to the Passivhaus podcast, brought to you by Passivhaus Accelerator, a catalyst for zero carbon building. For news, inspiration and connections from all flavours of Passivhaus, check out passivhausaccelerator.com. Sign up to receive regular updates about events, get your questions answered and contribute to the community dialogue. There's loads of free information for experienced professionals and people just starting out on their Passivhaus journey. We hope to see you at one of our weekly Passivhaus Accelerator live webinars. In the meantime, here's this week's Passivhaus podcast. Welcome back to the Passivhaus podcast. I'm Matthew Cutler, coming to you from Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland in New Zealand, and I'm joined this week by Jay Fox. How you doing, Jay?
I'm fantastic. Having a lovely time here in Asheville between the holidays.
Awesome. Yes, I guess it's sort of downtime in between Thanksgiving and a bit more of a break. So it's just the two of us this week, and we're reaching back into not quite the archives, but it feels like a while ago now that I was visiting Ireland for the Passivhaus conference there, which was a combined Passivhaus Ireland and the Passivhaus Trust from the UK, and it was a really fantastic opportunity to go and see what was going on in that part of the world. And a couple of people that I met were key players in that space, and also helped get me over there, courtesy of the team at ProClima, which was Ecological Building Systems, who do well. They'll talk about what they do because they do a lot. And I got the chance to sit down with Niall and Neil from there, but we'll get into that. But before we do, I'd just like to do a shout out for all the supporters of Passivhaus Accelerator, and that is our stakeholder partner, of course, NYSERDA, our founding sponsors 475, Ingui Architecture, Partel, Rockwall and Zola, and thanks to our champion sponsors Buizo, Cascadia Windows and Doors, I'm going to try that again. Our champion sponsors Buizo, Cascadia Windows and Doors, European Architectural Supply, Facro, Icon Windows and Doors, Intelligent Membranes, LG and Source 2050. I'd also like to do a special thanks to our sponsor of this week, which is European Architectural Supply. Big thanks to them for this podcast, but also everything at Passivhaus Accelerator. All right, well, let's jump into this interview. As I mentioned, I sat down with Niall Crosson and Neil Turner. It was really great to catch up with them in person. Niall is the technical director of Ecological Building Systems, and he was in fact the first employee. And Neil Turner is the UK technical manager, and he has a lot of experience getting out, talking to builders and designers out in the industry. So here they are, sitting down with them at the Passivhaus conference in Belfast.
My name's Niall Crosson. I'm Group Technical Director with Ecological Building Systems.
And also, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Neil Turner. I'm the UK Technical Manager for Ecological Building Systems.
And now tell us the backstory of Ecological Systems really briefly.
Yeah, Matthew, Ecological Building Systems was founded in about 25 years ago. And that's when I joined the company, and I was the first employee with Ecological Building Systems at the time. Our parent company is called McCann & Byrne in Ireland, in the Midlands. They're traditionally a timber merchant shop, established in 1906.
Right.
Fourth generation family business. To this day, still family owned.
Yeah.
And they fabricate timber and import wheelbarrows, salt, and everything you name it to builders providers around the whole island of Ireland.
Yeah.
And in the late 90s, we had a lot of foresight. The share owners of McCann and Bourne, Richard and Ian McCann and Tom Barber, they saw growth in Germany in particular in bio-based construction and membranes.
Yeah.
So they sent a fax out, because we didn't have emails at the time, to and many companies throughout Europe to see if they would be interested in partnering a little family business in Ireland. And one company responded to that fax, and that was Lotho Mull in Proclima.
Right.
So
was that the time when he was developing the first like the paper-based vapor controller?
That's right. That was already quite well established in Germany,
Okay.
the Proclima DB Plus paper membrane. And they began working with Proclima on the basis of the paper-based membrane. That was how we began with air-tightness. But air-tightness as a term was completely alien to the market. So what they foresaw was they'd introduce the roofing membranes instead of the air-tightness membranes to start, to try and develop and establish the brand.
Because what was there a typical building methodology at that time, or was there a whole bunch of them?
There was a few different types, but Ireland and the UK would be quite similar in some ways. In Ireland, the majority of buildings were cavity wall block build. Timber frame was in its significant minority.
Right.
England similarly would have majority block build, whereas Scotland has always been much more timber frame leaning with a higher volume of timber frame. But
no one was really doing air-tightness.
No one was doing air-tightness. Air-tightness was completely alien. If you mentioned air-tightness to someone, you were kicked out of the room because you were talking crazy stuff, and it was going to be like a sealed lunchbox, and you couldn't breathe, and you were going to sweat. So air-tightness was something we approached with a lot of trepidation at the beginning, around the year 2000. Because
what were people using for heating? Did they have?
Well, in Ireland, it's mainly gas heating in the urban areas. It would be kerosene, oil in the rural areas.
Yeah.
In the UK, I think it's mainly gas heating.
It's mainly gas heating.
Now, but
and
at that time it was gas as well.
That time it was, and there would have been a lot of open fires.
Yeah.
In houses, burning coal.
Yeah.
Peat, as well, like turf.
Which you can kind of understand people being a little skeptical of airtightness if you've got a combustion form of heating. You're probably going to want to have lots of holes in the building. Yeah.
And the insulation levels were deplorable at the time.
Yeah.
The backstop U values were I was around 0.5 on walls or something like that.
So you're making me feel homesick right now.
So
describing New Zealand today.
Yeah. So homes. It was just at the time it wasn't really in the lingo.
Yeah.
Airtightness, and that's where, from the outset, we realized we needed to train people, educate people, and ensure the products were all adequately certified, because you had a lot of cynical people as well questioning the performance of these new innovative materials. And that's where we worked with, that's when I began with the company then, because I'm an engineer by background. And I always remember at my interview for the company, and the financial controller won't mind me saying this, but he said, "Why do we need an engineer? Should we not be getting a salesperson?" But the director saw the need for getting someone technical involved to start developing this whole side within the company.
Was that already part of the Lotus influence and Proclima's culture around the education and training as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Our managing director at the time, Tom Barber, and also Richard McCann would have travelled over to Germany, met Lothar, met Thomas and Gartner, their master carpenter, brought him to Ireland, and he actually came to Ireland and couldn't believe what he was seeing.
Right.
In terms of the build quality, the workmanship on site, and the materials that were being used. So
as in not good.
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good at all.
Right.
So that very quickly established to us that we needed to develop our own training and work with Proclima on that. And that was very central to establishing the training that we have today.
Yeah. So did you envisage when you were an engineer that you would be in a education training type environment and also a sales role?
Yeah, that's a good question. when I finished university, I did a master's in engineering science, and then I worked with a local company making plasterboard for a few months, and it was a factory environment. So I really felt I'm more a people person. I like going out meeting people.
Yeah.
And I've also always been curious and inquisitive about sustainability. I come from a farming background. I was born and reared in the countryside, and very much in touch with that sort of thing. So when the opportunity came up with Ecological through the director, I saw, it was really exciting. And when he presented, I always remember the first time I saw a wood fiber bat.
Yeah.
He showed it to me with the paper membrane, and I just thought, this looks absolutely like something I've never seen in my life.
Yeah.
Looks really interesting. And that just kicked off my imagination. And when it was presented to me about the company, his vision for the company in time, I thought it was a really good opportunity. So that's why I joined it. And
so jumping forward, where are you today? Where is the company? Can you give us some numbers in terms of size and reach?
Yeah, so as we've evolved over the last nearly 25 years now, we have about 24 people in Ireland, and I think it's 26 people in the UK.
I think it's now nearly 30.
Nearly 30 in the UK, yeah. So we opened offices in the UK in 2006, 2007, and that was a key changing point for us, because in Ireland there was the crash from the banking crisis and everything else around that time, and we employed Penny Randell, who has been absolutely pivotal to the company and its growth over the last many years since she joined us. And it's the reason we've offices in Carlisle. And people ask us sometimes, why are you based in Carlisle? And I think Carlisle's a lovely town. But people in the south of England probably think it should be down there somewhere. Is that right, Neil?
But I think it's all due to population density.
Population density is in the southeast. But Penny's based in Carlisle, and we supported Penny, and Penny's done incredible work for the company over that time, and that's where we set up. Initially, Penny from our home in Carlisle, and then she had a home office, and then it grew to having warehousing, and now they've substantial offices and training centres in the UK, because over that time we expanded into bio-based materials like wood fibre, hemp, grass insulation, cellulose, natural paints, all these materials. So with that, you have to grow the team, the support, and the training with it as well.
We'll come back to some of the other product range, but Neil, what's your role? What do you do on a daily basis?
Okay, well, I'm basically, I work with all of I've got 10 people in the team that report to me. We're based all over the country, so that we've got relatively easy access to sites and, to visit clients and do training on site, showing contractors how to do things. But a lot of what we do is specification selling. So in other words, we get lots of inquiries from architects, from clients, and we kind of help them design the building, whether it be for air-tightness, to incorporate these natural insulation products. And now we're working on things like decentralized ventilation with heat recovery.
Is this a paid service, or are you?
No, it's it's all to do with it's providing added value. It's an added value service. So obviously, the name of the game is to convert these projects into business. And that's how we generate our revenue, rather than charging for any assistance.
And so you do a bit of training and education as well in the market.
We do lots of it. Some of it is self-generated, so we do lots of CPDs, which we advertise them on our website.
For designers?
For designers, So we talk a lot about the theory of air-tightness and the benefits of natural insulation. But then we also do practical training. So we've just invested in a new training centre, a permanent training centre in our Carlisle office. So that,
So do people travel there to come and...
People do that, but we've also got a sort of transportable version. So, we've got mini training rigs.
Yeah.
And we actually done a session at the NSBRC, the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre in Swindon.
Yeah.
Where, so it's closer for people to come to from that region.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges that the UK construction industry faces, and I think as a nation we face it as well, is that we've got a lot of people who go to university.
Yeah.
They're academically trained, but not enough hands-on.
Yeah.
So we're now working with a number of groups. There's the Quantum Group, who have set up hands-on training sessions, a training centre rather,
right,
at Dagenham College.
Okay.
And we've been working with Abingdon and Whitney College. We work with organisations, training organisations such as the Green Register.
What's the Green Register?
Well, the Green Register is an organisation which is promoting sustainable construction.
Okay.
And using natural materials and other things as well.
So it's a directory of products or people or both? It's
both.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we also, we work with a couple of training organisations in Scotland.
Right.
So there's BEST and the Verdancy Group.
Yeah. Is that training unique to you and what you're doing, or do builders and tradespeople have other, I guess, suppliers like doing training courses in other areas, or is what you're doing pretty unique?
Well, if you look at the Green Register run training on a whole range of different things.
Right.
So they for example, they do training on how to design a building against overheating.
Okay. Which is becoming more of a problem.
Yeah. And they talk about designing heating systems and things like that.
Yeah.
So they're encompassing the whole spectrum of different trades that you would see in construction.
Yeah. It seems to me that collectively yourselves and some of those other organisations are kind of filling in gaps that professionals and tradespeople haven't necessarily been taught. And because if they're not doing it at university or doing an apprenticeship, I guess they don't know what they don't know until they get to do a course and sort of upskill in those areas.
Yeah, we're seeing that it's similar in Ireland, a skill shortage for labourers on site with the skills to carry out the work for air-tightness and so on.
Yeah.
In Ireland, the Irish government have set up what are called educational and training boards, or ETBs, regionally, and that's government funded. So they run courses on air-tightness, on external wall insulation, retrofitting buildings, as well as ventilation. So
that's funded by the Irish government?
Yeah, that's funded by the Irish government, them training centres.
Why do they do that? What's the motivation for them?
Because in Ireland we have a huge housing shortage, and we have a huge skill shortage as well. But
how they made the connection between just building a bunch of houses as quickly as possible to actually making them airtight and doing them well? Yeah,
well, the legislation in Ireland is more onerous than the UK. That's one thing. So, the standard of airtightness and the average air permeability in buildings is coming in at around about 2.1 for buildings, new builds in Ireland, and the backstop is 5 for buildings that are naturally ventilated, or if you go below 3, you must put in mechanical ventilation. Right. So the standards have improved a lot. And if you type in Google air-tightness installer in Ireland, you get ream after ream pages of companies. There's an industry of installers just focusing on air-tightness in Ireland. But
how long has that been in place? So how long have the requirements for air-tightness been there?
Since 2006, it came in. At the time, it was quite lax. It was back to 10.
Right.
And then it incrementally improved to 7, and then it came down to 5. But people are now achieving much better than that on most projects. Yeah. It's not Passivhaus, but it's still pretty good. Yeah. And we've seen, many more skilled trades coming in for air-tightness. But we carry out our training. You were mentioning earlier on about the need for training. Yeah. The government are trying to encourage builders and professionals to upskill in that whole area. The big challenge is time and getting people to come. And if people even if people are getting free training, sometimes that's not enough incentive because the builders are too busy. So that's where bringing training on the road is a good compromise. And some of these agencies have large lorries with training rigs in the back that they bring around the country. Such as the Leash Offaly ETB, they would have a really brilliant training unit that they bring around both the secondary schools as well as the builders. And we have also launched a roadshow 2 years ago. This is the second year doing it. Where we bring our rigs to parts of rural Ireland less exposed to this training, like the cities would be, to try and improve knowledge on the ground and also train the architects as well. Right. So that's been hugely successful as well.
When you're out there with working with clients, with the professionals, what are they most surprised by? What do they find most challenging?
People who've never heard of, let's say, natural insulation products before are always surprised by the range of technical benefits and performance benefits. So you're looking at things like, it's not just insulation in the winter, because they're high density, high specific heat capacity, they can actually slow down the rate at which heat can get into the building in the summer. And that's becoming a lot more of an issue in the UK, especially in the southeast. And this summer anywhere in the UK. In terms of air tightness, I think people, there's two issues that we have in England, Wales in particular, slightly less so in Scotland, is that not only do we have high backstop air tightness thresholds, but there's a bit of a reluctance to drop the threshold below 5. Because people are nervous about having to spend extra money on mechanical ventilation. And I think that once we get over that hurdle, and once the sort of ventilation becomes bigger in the UK, and people are not worried about the supply of it and options available, then we're hearing on the grapevine that the regulation's going to be much tighter when it's next reviewed, which will make air tightness mandatory rather than an elective thing.
Is the mindset the block there around mechanical ventilation? Is there an assumption or a belief that windows and just a leaky envelope is enough? Is that where that's coming from?
I think I mean, I've heard stories, for example, that somebody builds a building and then they test it and the air permeability is 3. So what they do is they start getting their Stanley knife and cutting membranes to make it 5.
Really?
So that they don't have to invest in a whole house mechanical ventilation system.
It's more an economic decision rather than rather than being genuinely concerned that the building is, in inverted commas, too airtight. It's more the building standards are such that if you go below 5, there's a requirement that you put in some form of mechanical ventilation, which may have not been priced in at the beginning of the project. So then and then at that stage of the project, you could have a lot of finishes in. So to put it in is going to cost a lot. So they'll say, oops, we've gone too airtight. We may have to make this more leakier.
So is that a failure and therefore an opportunity of the ventilation industry?
I'm not so sure. I mean, definitely in terms of awareness, architects and people are getting more aware that air leakage is not ventilation. And there's lots of studies to back that up, that you need controlled ventilation. I think the legislation and the economic, probably the economies of scale, I would say, as people buy into ventilation earlier in the design process, and designing ventilation from the start is a better exercise. If people get more informed that, people are getting less than 5 more regularly, so let's design in and price in the ventilation system, and that could be done quite economically with some mechanical systems. It doesn't always have to be, although it is the optimum, centralized ventilation with recovery or decentralized heat recovery. You could have central mechanical extract ventilation and other means of compliance that are not as efficient but cheaper.
Yeah.
But it's about designing that in at the start and accepting the benefits of air-tightness, but you need to make sure when you build tight, you ventilate right.
Yeah.
And that's bought in at the start. It's about buying at the start.
Yeah.
The opportunity once the house is finished and it's in inverted commas too airtight, the horse is bolted.
Absolutely.
So it's about buying at the start from the specifier and from the main contractor.
I think there is an issue with ventilation similar to when we talked earlier about construction in general.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps there aren't enough qualified engineers, installers, electricians to actually, meet that demand. So in other words, if you immediately had to ramp up the demand to 250,000 houses a year, then that might be challenging in the initial period.
Yeah, I think that would be a good problem to have, though. I wonder. There's certainly all that evidence. There are reports showing all those benefits, but that's not going to cut through to consumers, like homeowners, because they're not going to read a bunch of reports. There's a philosophy there that I'll just open a window, or you don't want this this extra thing that I got to pay for, and it's got to run continuously. So it feels to me like there's a mass market communication challenge there, and an education piece.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. You do hear, anecdotes about some housing developments where some of the occupants are getting that impression that, okay, this costs money, let's just switch it off because that's putting up my electricity bill, where it's probably isn't, or maybe the execution of it hasn't been correct. So there's too much sound coming from the ducting and whatnot, and then they end up switching it off, and it's an inconvenience. Yeah. But that brings to another point, is the quality control and the aftercare. I think that's somewhere that needs a lot more work on these projects, and we do hear stories about, and we've spoken to other ventilation companies who see poor applications or poorly maintained systems that aren't getting filter changes, or the ducting hasn't been sufficient. Yeah. That's a major area that needs to be addressed as well.
Yeah. You mentioned grass, and you shared a sample of that around today, and I actually saw some because I visited the self-build centre last week in Sweden, which was very cool.
Yeah.
What is that? What's the grass insulation?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting material. It's called Grammitherm. It's grass that's harvested from public areas in Belgium. It's produced in Belgium. So on the verges of canals, roadways, where the grass would otherwise be just dumped, they take that grass and then they take it to a factory in Belgium, and they dry it. And in the drying process, they ferment the grass. But during the fermentation process, the gas that's given off by the gas, and that's used as part of the fuel to dry the grass. Wow. And then the grass is taken to the factory, and it is mixed in the factory with jute, upcycled jute sacks, and some salt to give fire resistance, and recycled polyester, a small amount of it sourced within the region, and that binds it. Yeah. And they produce this bio-based grass insulation in back form. Yeah. And we've been working with Grammitherm for must be just over a year now. Yeah. And it's used in attics, between joists, or between rafters. Yeah. It's very easy to handle, easy to cut.
It's very soft.
It's got a really good acoustic absorption property, and like Neil was saying earlier, there's good heat retention properties. Yeah. Very vapor resistant as well, and just really nice to work with. And it smells very earthy. Let's say. Yeah. You get the real. It smells like hay or that sort of thing. Yeah. So it's really nice to work with. But as a product, it's amazing how they take this byproduct, just a waste product of grass that's it's omnipresent. Well, in Ireland and the UK it is, maybe not. Yeah.
It is. Well, and it's fixing
in
a
New
problem
Zealand,
because you don't want those in the waterways, because then you end up with all sorts of issues with nitrates and
So it's a good story.
It is a good story. So you've got all the wraps, air tightness, vapor control. You've got insulation. external insulation, internal, different forms of
Yeah.
fiber, grass.
Yeah.
You're doing ventilation systems?
Yeah. So we're partnering with a company called Inventor from Germany.
Yeah.
And they developed a system called decentralized heat recovery ventilation in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And they developed a ceramic core at the time, which was quite advanced in the late 90s for giving that heat exchange effect. And we've been working with them for about 3 years.
Yeah.
It's quite a neat system. Typically, they're fans that can be paired and they're put in rooms.
Yeah.
And when one is working negative, taking air out, it takes out the stale heated air that heats up the ceramic core, and then the fan reverses the following 70 seconds. It brings in fresh preheated air then.
What other products have you got?
There's also cannabis, going on the subject of grass, but it's not actually grass. It's hemp insulation combined with jute.
Right.
It's produced in Scotland by a company called Indie Nature. It's called Indie Breed Plex. There's wood fiber from Gutex in the Black Forest in Germany. In Ireland, we work with Thermofleece sheep wool, and there's also other materials for renovation like cork lime, which is really interesting. It's a company called Diason. They combine cork, clay, diatomaceous earth, and lime. And it produces bags insulation that you mix with water and you plaster with, and it's really good for insulating old buildings. Can be used in new buildings. And there's calcium silicate as well. I can go on all day. There's a lot of different materials with different uses, but it's they're all common. The common theme to have is we try and source materials that are compatible with healthy living, low environmental impact, and back that up with the training and the technical know-how as well.
We missed one out actually, because another theme of Passivhaus is thermal bridging. So we've got a product called Bosig Phonotherm.
Right.
And this is a sort of rigid, high compressive strength insulation board. And it's made from completely recycled, upcycled PUR.
Right.
So it could be fridge. That it's used as a sort of insulant in fridges. And it's used in car panels. So instead of, you can't just landfill PUR. So what this company does is that they convert it into a thermal breakboard.
Is that used around windows?
It's used around windows, door thresholds, point thermal.
Anywhere you need a bit of structure, but
and insulation.
Awesome. Well, where's the best place for people to go to find out all the stuff you've got?
If I could, just one last thing. I was going to say we've partnered with Eco Cocoon now, the straw bale company.
Straw. So that's the other grass.
That's interesting. I didn't mention that, but it's well worth mentioning that.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're straw prefabricated panels.
So it's a company in Eastern Europe called Eco Cocoon, and they take the straw to the factory, dry it, and then they have an automated factory in Bratislava as well, where they precision make straw wall panels. And that has straw packed to a very high density between these timber studs. And it's shipped all around the world. The panels, and it's a really interesting concept. And they use a lot of the proclima membranes for weather tightness and air tightness and wood fiber and all that good stuff with it as well.
It's a great Back to the Future story. It's sort of...
I never thought when I was growing up in the farm, taking straw from the field, that one day we'd be building a house with it. That sort of thing,
So what's exciting you about being here, being in Belfast at the conference here?
It's really, there's a vibrancy, there's an energy, and there's a scale you can see. I was saying in my presentation earlier that 20 years ago I was speaking at a small venue in County Wicklow for one of the early Irish Passivhaus conferences. And today there's a hall there nearly, there's 600 people here nearly, and you can see buy-in not just from the geeks like me and Neil and yourself, Matthew, but you've got the big developers now, like Cairn Homes. You're looking at the largest passive housing scheme in Europe being built in Dublin. You've got the likes of Wimpy now in London buying into buying into Passivhaus. You see in Belfast here, it's just
and the university,
Queen's University. You've got Erna Campus University in Enniskillen. You've got the combination of the people that are committed to this for so long, doing great work, but it's just exponentially grown now into these developments. So that's a huge change that I see this year.
What about you, Neil? What have you taken out of being on the stand today and being around last night?
Yeah, what I always like about this conference is you get to meet with people that you only ever speak with on the phone or email.
Yeah.
So there's loads of architects who we work with.
Right.
So I've worked with them on massive projects, but I've never met them.
Yeah.
Some of my colleagues in the team have, but I haven't.
Yeah.
So for me, that's always a good thing about this kind of conference.
Yeah, it's nice to be here in person, that's for sure.
Another thing at the conference is the terminology that's turning around full circle, pardon the pun, but circularity.
Yeah.
The whole language around embodied carbon, the acceptance that this needs to be upfront carbon needs to be addressed and recognised. And you can see that coming much more now in the presentations, not just for the one-offs, but for the larger developers now. They're really prioritising that. So that's a huge change, because it took a long time to get the energy ratings, and you get an energy rating on the building. But now people are not just looking at energy ratings, but they're looking at embodied carbon ratings pretty much.
Yeah.
For whole life carbon assessments for buildings that are coming very, very quickly down the line. So
well, it kind of takes
positive to see.
It almost takes us back to DB Plus and the origins of doing things with more natural products, and it seems to be a lot more in vogue now, and people looking at that, because you can do all sorts of things with polystyrene and plastics and but I think a lot more people are looking for the type of things that you're offering, which are those sort of more innovative circular type materials. So where should people go to find you?
To go to ecologicalbuildingsystems.com. They'll find us on that website. We also have a LinkedIn feed, we have a YouTube feed, we're on Instagram.
Nice.
I'm told I'm not on Instagram. And so they can find us on all them platforms.
And you going out on the road again, or is that just an ongoing training program around the UK?
Well, I mean, on Friday, the in Swindon, this self-build and renovation centre.
Yes.
So they have, I think it's 5 shows a year, weekend shows. So it's all on a Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
So we'll be at the exhibition. There's about 800 people booked for each day.
Nice.
And that's mostly homeowners.
Yeah.
Or it could be somebody who's got a plot of land.
Yeah.
And has got some kind of planning permission to build.
Yeah.
So it could be a new build, or it could be, they want to do some internal wall or external wall insulation.
Yeah. Well, that'll be good.
Yeah, we've Archie Expo in Dublin tomorrow. So that's the biggest building conference in Ireland for architects, the RIEI conference.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned in the development of the company, my younger brother, who's director in Ireland, general manager as well, by the way.
Right.
So shout out to Adrian. He's been pivotal to all that. But being the younger brother, we need to slag each other a good bit.
Yeah,
but he's in the office taking it easy while Neil and I are here doing the hard work.
Yeah.
And that was my conversation with Niall Crosson and Neil Turner of Ecological Building Systems at the Passivhaus conference in Belfast earlier this year. Any takeouts for you, Jay?
Well, that was very interesting because, I was a little late to the game. I kind of joined this community in 2019 and 2020. So this is sometimes the first time I'll hear about these early pioneers in the Passivhaus space and working with, making airtightness more important. And it's kind of funny to even hear, that back in 2000, they were looked at a little, like they were a little strange because they were focusing on airtightness. And then they, provide some context where, people were still, using peat and coal to heat their homes. So yeah, airtightness would sound like a death trap if, you didn't put it into proper context. So that was kind of interesting to hear. And I think the other thing that caught me was, Neil said that, a lot of people go to university and kind of come out with theoretical knowledge of how to do these things, but they don't have enough hands-on training. And that's something I've heard time and time again here in North America. And it sounds like, Ireland's at least trying to finance some type of training and get more folks involved. And I think we need more of that here. So that's the first thing that jumps out. How about
Yeah.
you listening back,
Well, yeah, I don't know if it came across, but I joked briefly that when they were describing their origins 20 plus years ago, it sounded very much like New Zealand today in terms of people just learning about airtightness and wondering if that was maybe such a good idea, and that this challenge of convincing people that infiltration, which is leakiness, is not in fact ventilation. And I pretty much have that conversation every day at the moment with a builder or an architect who I interact with to try and convince them that, yeah, we need ventilation, and that means a fan, and it's not cracks and leakiness and or even necessarily having the ability to open a window is not guarantee of a good constant supply of fresh air. So to think that, going back to 2006, so 2 decades ago, when they were just starting to introduce that concept of making homes airtight, and they've ratcheted that down from 10 air changes down 7, now 5, with the average being way less than that, is promising that it's got there, but I just hope it doesn't take us 2 decades. We can't afford for it to take another 2 decades for us to get there.
That's true.
A big part of what the purpose of all of this, the podcast and everything that we do, is literally to accelerate this movement and to learn from people who have done this before us, and to figure out how we can go faster so that we don't have to take quite that long. So that was one thing, but I guess the main thing that, and this was a bit of a theme that I saw across the conference, and in fact, when I'm spending a bit of time in the UK, was this people searching for, I haven't quite settled on the term yet. I'm thinking natural products, but even that, I don't love it, because it's kind of like highly processed food. It's like it's most of all these products are processed, so
Yeah.
but they're closer to the source. They have less environmental impact. They are probably healthier, not guaranteed, but in a lot of instances, they're fewer materials. They're more biodegradable. So things like hemp, straw, grass, different forms of wood fiber, cellulose, insulation. And some of these products are quite old, and it's in their original form. But it's really interesting to see them coming back as people have figured out the high performance stuff and now wanting to do that with less negative environmental impact.
No, it's fascinating. And I think one that jumped out to me, because I'd never even heard of it, was in Belgium with the grass company, where the fermentation process actually produces gas that then powers the drying process, and that they use, I have this in my notes, upcycled jute sacks and salt
Yeah.
and recycled polyester, which just that's very cool that they managed to use all of those materials and actually create something almost mostly bio-based.
Yeah.
That's the word I've been using, is bio-based instead of natural materials. Although I feel like people can find exceptions there and probably say that there are some bio-based things that are wrong. So eventually we'll get the terminology down. But
Yeah.
that was a very exciting one. It reminded me there's a eelgrass, I believe, out of Denmark, that's often used for insulating, and particularly has good acoustic qualities.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm hearing a lot more about things like straw and hemp, and the fact that there's a lot of waste material from other agricultural processes, like food production, that might just get burnt, or it's literally a waste, and that can be used for building products. And these things take months to grow instead of years, and require much fewer resources. And straw seems it's got connotations of being old and sort of hippie-ish and weird houses. So I really like this emerging trend of prefabricated panels, which are precision elements. They're built in a factory, and they come to site as any other SIP panel or building cassette module. But the bulk of the material is straw, and that's a really good marrying of old and natural products with modern methods of construction. And I think that's quite exciting to see that.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of that as well for yet another reason, which is a lot of this, if you're extracting something out of the earth, you need to live near a vein where that material can be, pulled out. But with something like straw or hemp or grass, it can kind of grow, I don't want to say anywhere, but way more places. And so that can create these kind of local economies, and because you don't need a very large facility to process it. I'm thinking of Suffolk here, which is up in Alberta, and I mean it sounds like it's about five people on a farm, and they can manage to do it. So that's another really cool thing about it, is that it can support these maybe some of these rural communities where industry's fallen on hard times in North America or the UK.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and check out Eco Cocoon, which Niall mentioned at the end there, and they've got some great projects on their website, including some pretty large buildings, including the world's tallest straw building, which is I don't know exactly how many, but it's about 10 stories high. It's right up there. So exciting stuff. All right. Well, that'll do us for this week. I don't have all the upcoming events, the Accelerator and the Reimagine, but definitely check out all the upcoming events there. It will be a little bit of a slowdown over the holiday period, but we'll be back again next week on the Passivhaus podcast.